Hey Tappers! Today's video on eating disorders and EFT comes from a question and request by Lorraine. So if you get some benefit from this video, please send a shout out or some love to her. Now, when we start talking about specific disorders or something that can be diagnosed, there's a fine line that we need to talk about, which is there are certain things that are out of my scope of practice, meaning I'm not trained to really talk about diagnosing an eating disorder or how to take care of an eating disorder. But what I am trained in is how to deal with stress through EFT. So that's what we're going to focus on. In order to prepare for this video, I did a lot of reading about what a person goes through emotionally, what types of stress they might experience through various credible websites, as well as spoke to a few friends I know who had an eating disorder at one time or another, and my own experience, small as it may have been. What I found, Tappers, is that there were a lot of stressors that people with eating disorders experience that are not exclusive to eating disorders, such as blame, judgment, self-sabotage, self-criticism, feeling not enough, feeling like you're too much, an overall sense of general rejection. You're just not allowed to be who you are. You're just not allowed to be who you want to be. Having a fear of who you are and feeling that it's justified for you to be punished for that. There also was a lot of talk about an insatiable need to control. So the question I have is, control what? For example, let's say I have a headache and I just feel it gripping right here. And I could say, yeah, I have a headache and headaches suck. And this is how I'm going to get rid of it, or I'm going to try to get rid of it, or nothing gets rid of it. Or I can do what I explained to do in EFT and get curious about what it is that I'm experiencing. Well, if this headache wasn't here before and it's here now, then I would call this headache a symptom. But a symptom of what? What is it that happened that the outcome then is a headache for me? I happen to have tension headaches, so I know if I get under stress or I'm in a certain position for a long period of time, I have a tendency to kind of clench my neck backwards or clench my shoulders up, which then starts to creep up my neck, and then boom, I've got a tension headache. So I know, oh, okay, I've got a headache. I must have been squeezing. I need to go relax. I need to apply something to my muscles to help them soothe out. And I need to find a different setting for myself to support myself so that I don't get into that situation again. So it's a bit tricky, Tappers, because this is so specific to you. Because a headache can happen a million different ways, right? But everybody calls it a headache. So what is it that you might be encountering that this would be your outcome? One way to try and discover this is to become your own detective. So the first thing a detective needs is evidence, right? Well, how do you get evidence? Well, you know what you experience, you know what you feel, you know what you do. And you can also get your notebook, you could get your laptop and simply write out a list of different experiences. You could bullet point things. You could write a letter to yourself or to your eating disorder. Anything that's going to give you a lot of input to then look at with curiosity and say, how does this seem to link together? That's interesting. I mentioned this person multiple times. I don't think that's applicable. We know with tapping that we can find connections in the brain that don't necessarily make sense to us logically, right? So apply that to this too. Let everything that comes into your mind while you're doing this investigation matter. Give it some weight and just see if it goes somewhere. So then, Tappers, to make this a little bit more succinct and clear for you, I would say take what it is that's ailing you. And if you don't have an eating disorder, that's fine. You can use whatever it is that you feel is in your way. Is it shyness? Is it your temper? Is it you want to be closer to someone, but you feel like it's just not possible? You don't know how to get closer to them. You want a promotion at work, but you're not quite sure what the block is for that. get out something that isn't just your brain and get it out in front of you and write everything that's connected to it. Then once you have that, you can use the SUD score system to see how alive it is for you. What kind of emotional reaction are you having to it? Oh, when I think of this person, it's there, but it's not big. But when I think of this instance that also involved this person, it's really high. Okay, and all of them deserve a little bit of attention for tapping. I don't want it to seem like I'm making light of this, like this is going to be an easy process or a quick process. What's been my own experience with those tappers is that it's a very deep and confusing menagerie of things tied together that tend to have the outcome of something such as an eating disorder. For me, I didn't have anorexia or bulimia, and I don't know the name of any other eating disorders, but what I did have was I would punish myself with eating sugar because I knew sugar was a bad thing. And sugar makes your body look less attractive, and it's not good for your immune system. And I felt very, very, very suppressed. I felt very much like I was not allowed to be who I was. So anytime I started to have some success and being able to be who I was, there's a part of my subconscious brain that said, no, 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 that's not allowed. What do you think you're doing? And so then I would self-punish to try and self-sabotage what it was that was starting to blossom for me. It was so confusing because I really, really, really wanted it. But then I would do everything in my power to push myself away from it. It was later on that I learned about these beliefs that are stuck in the subconscious, and it still took me years to fully understand what the very, very root cause of it was. And the root cause of it was I didn't want my mom to be wrong. That may sound like my mom was a terrible person and didn't want me to be all that I can be, and that's not true. My mom is highly supportive of me, but at some point, somewhere as a child, I decided that me being my biggest self meant that my mom would be wrong. And as a child, that can be something that threatens my survival because I depend on my parents for survival. So it was very, very important that I never become anything that was against that. And that's why my brain made it such a strong connection of something that's so easily to access. That's my own journey with it, tappers. I don't know what yours is, but I do know that this is a really solid way to maybe gain some understanding if you haven't already tried this. So again, get curious about yourself and tap to accept whatever it is that comes up if it's needed. And allow yourself to discover these pathways that might give you some clues as to relieve yourself of the stress of what it is that you're experiencing. And please seek the help of a professional who has the proper training and the proper tools to help guide you to freedom from this thing that is part of your journey currently. Thinking about you, and I hope this helps. I'll see you soon.